This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to GoOnlineTrainings.com. Yesterday we had seen how to write store procedures and everything, and today we're going to be writing how to, or do with the remaining stuff. Okay, so the next point is that how can we use cursors and all. Clear? What is the need for the cursors and why we have to use the cursor? It's very important topic today. Now, let us understand. Need for cursors is result set, a complete set of rows returned by a statement. Cursors are going to be used to work with select, update or delete with a small set at a time. Positioning at specific rows, retrieve one row or block of rows at a time. Different levels of visibility to changes made by other users. Programmatic access to the data. Clear? So these are the things about the cursors. Now let me tell you what is a cursor and when we can use a cursor. Okay, so when I write select star from account master table, I say where account ID equals to, or let us say where branch ID equals to, I'll get BR1. I should be able to get couple of rows, right? I'm getting total 17 rows in this. Clear? So when you get a set of rows or block of rows, you should be able to bring the data. And here, explicitly, there is no cursor involved in this. Okay? So there is no cursor. So these are very fast. Okay? Cursor means, so this is what is a cursor. Cursor is a pointer. Okay? I am putting a cursor here. Cursor means I am pointing this. Cursor means a pointer, something like this. Okay? Now, on this result set, okay, there is no cursor. I'm not pointing anything. When I execute this, I should be able to get a lot of data. On this data, normally what all we can do? We can purely read this data, nothing else. We cannot do anything on this data. Clear? For example, I go here and right click on this and can I delete anything here? No. Okay. So this is purely read only data. Okay. But this is very fast. Okay. As soon as you execute a query, you should be able to get the data as quickly as possible. Here, explicitly, no cursors are involved. Okay. So no cursor is available here. It is simply query we are able to write. But the questions asked Microsoft is that I wanted to get some data. Okay, I'm able to get the data. On the data, I wanted to do what is the need for the cursor? I'm telling. Okay, need for a cursor now. I wanted to retrieve the data. Okay, on that, what I wanted to do, I wanted to perform some kind of a, either I should be able to read the data, or I should be able to update the data, or I should be able to delete the data. Okay, so as of now, when I don't use any cursor, when I simply write a select statement, this data is very fastly I'm able to get it, and this is purely read-only data, so there is no cursor explicitly there. What is the cursor we'll see, but I cannot do anything on this data. I should be able to purely read the data. So this result set is called as a read-only result set. But what the people are asking, I wanted to write a query, get the data. On the data, I should be able to read. Read means I wanted to select the data, plus I wanted to update the data, I wanted to delete the data. So that is the need for a cursor. Clear? So the cursor is going to be taking the result set of the query. On that query, I should be able to perform either I wanted to select. Select means reading. I read the data. Now also I can read the data. But now I am not able to update the data on the query result set. I can update the data go to by going to the base tables, but whatever the data I got it from the query, this is what is called result set. On this, I will not be able to update anything here. And I wanted to delete this row. This is what is my result set. For example, tomorrow I am able to get to, this is what is my query result set. On this result set, I cannot update this. I cannot delete this row. I cannot do anything. This is a pure only data. Okay, so that is where we need to use for a cursor. Need for a cursor is that I wanted to retrieve some data with the help of a query. After that, I would like to select or read or delete. So if you wanted to do like that, then go in for a cursor. Or I wanted to, point to specific time. Okay, I wanted to read the data or update the data, or I wanted to say I wanted to perform row by row operations. Perform what is called as row by row operations. Row by row operation means I am going here and all the data will be given me by SQL Server at a time. But I don't like that. I wanted to have a single row. Then I need the second row. Then I need the third row. I wanted to get the next row. So this is what is called a looping operation. Okay. So if you wanted to perform a looping operation, a row by row, then also normally we're going to be using a cursors. There's are two advantages of cursors. One is that I don't need all the data at a time. I wanted to perform a row by row operation. Row by row means what? One by one, one by one. If that is the case, we'll go in for a cursor. So cursors can be used as a loops here. Simply you can think of a loop. We have a while loop. That is one advantage of the cursors. The second advantage is that I wanted to read the data, normal data also you can read it, but the extra thing is that I would like to update and delete. With the cursors help, you will not be able to insert the data, because whatever be the result set I am getting it on this, either I read it or I update it or I delete it. With the cursor help, you're not going to insert the data into the tables. Clear? So this is what is the need for the cursor. Okay, perform a row by row operations, get a data at a time and do something on it. It is like nothing but a looping operation. Okay, since you're getting a row by row operations, because the cursor means pointing, right? That's what you telling. Let me get the data, then let me cursor it. So cursor means pointing, pointing, read, pointing, delete, pointing it and update it. So cursor means always it works with the row by row operations. It cannot get all the data at a time. Because of that, cursors are slow. Okay, cursors are very, very slow. Will be very slow. Why will be very, very slow? Cursors cannot get the data at a time. For example, when I'm executing this query, I'm able to get the data very, very quickly. Clear? But now, whenever I go to the cursor, when I implement a cursor, I write select statement there. But what happens is that all the data will not be given at a time. So you will be able to get one row, next row, and next row, and next row, and next row, and next row till the data exists in that cursor. Clear? So because of that, cursors will be very, very slow. Cursoring means positioning, pointing. Okay. After pointing onto the result set, what all you can do? You can read the data, you can update the data, you can delete the data. But in the normal queries, you're not going to do any kind of a updations or deletions. Only you can select or read the data. If you understand this, we can go ahead. Now, default result set, fire hose cursors, no cursors are explicitly specified. Entire result set is sent to the application. So this is what is called default result set. And this query is called as a no cursors, or people will say this is having a fire hose cursor. Fire hose cursor means there is no cursor there. Okay. You will not be able to point to anything here. So no cursor is equivalent to fire hose cursors. Whenever whenever there is a fire, the fire will start at one shot at a time. You will not be able to control that, right? So like that, when you start executing this query, it is not going to stop anything, give you complete data at a time, which is very, very faster. No cursor is involved, and this is what is called result set when you execute it. Okay, so this is very, very good and very, very faster. Read only data. No cursor is called as a fire hose cursor. Clear? Entire result sets into the application, Java, .NET. So whenever you have a front end and back end. Result set is read only. Client cannot execute any other SQL statements. I told you, right? So when the data is given to the client, so client only display, it cannot do anything else. Client means Java application, .NET application. Cached on the network buffers, all T-SQL statements are supported. Means you can apply where clause, group by clause, into keyword, whatever you wanted to use, having clause, everything is supported in the default result set. There is no problem restriction to the queries. Okay, this is what is called the result set. Use for the statements returning the single row or small result set. It is very, very fast. Cannot be used for the position updates or deletes. Okay, cannot be used with the multiple active statements. Nothing you can do here. Okay, so on this, you will not be able to get multiple result sets. You will be able to get only one result set because one query it will give you one result set. You cannot do any kind of updations. You cannot do any kind of deletions. And a no cursor, it is called as a fire hose cursors. It is purely stored on the network buffers. And when the server is sending the data to the client, and all the data very fastly it will reach the client. And the client purely read only data, the Java and .NET can display the data to the customers. So we cannot do anything on this data. That is what is called default result set, which doesn't have any kind of a cursor. Now we have a two types of the cursors in this world. One is called server side cursors. The second one is called client side cursors. Okay. The data, whatever be the data because of the query, all the data is going to be storing in the server side only. Server side means I'm talking about SQL server side. Where it is going to be storing? It's going to be storing in the tempdb database. Okay, so when you store some data in the tempdb database, so that called as a server side cursors. Client side cursors means you will send this data to the Java and .NET, and those people are storing the data in somewhere else. But SQL server cursors are not completely client side cursors. There is no support for this. So we are writing about only server side cursors. That means whenever the client is executing the data of a query, the data is going to be dumped onto the tempdb database. It is stored on the server side only. Clear? SQL server supports only server side cursors. There is no point of supporting of this. So when we're talking about cursors, purely server side, there is no client side cursors. The data is not going to be stored in the client side. Always the server tempdb database, the data is going to be stored. That is the first point. Now scripts, procedures, blah blah blah, everything is supported, implemented on the server side only. No support for the multiple result set. Browse into keywords are not allowed. Cursor operations are required. Cursor operation means I told you few things. What are the cursor operations? Cursor operation means I wanted to read or update or delete the data. This is cursor operation. Or if you wanted to loop through some data, one row by one row, then that is also cursor operation. Okay, so you can do two things. You can loop through and you read it. You loop through, you update it. You loop through, you delete it. So if you wanted to perform these operations, then that is when we're going to use the cursors. But the minus point of the cursor is that when you get a row by row and deleting or updating it, it will be slower. So because of that, many people are not going to be using the cursors heavily. And one more disadvantage is that just now we discussed the cursors are using lot of tempdb space heavily. Okay, when everybody is creating the cursors, all the data is going to be fetching from the account master table or account employee master table. All the data fed into a tempdb. So this is also one more disadvantage. All the data is going to be dumped onto tempdb. If you have thousands of people connected to the servers, and when you implement a lot of cursors over there, when you click on something, you are fetching a lot of data and dumping it here. End user does not know, but whoever developed the code using a cursor, and definitely the data is going to be dumping onto the tempdb. Clear? So a heavy usage of tempdb is going to be there. So that is also one more disadvantage of this cases. Okay. Now, how to create a cursor and what are the things we need to have it in the cursor? Now, whenever you create a cursor, you need to know few things. Let me ask you, let me tell you this. Cursor means, let me talk about cursor here. So what are the things the cursor we need to look into? Okay, so now we know using a cursor you can update the data, delete the data. What data we're talking about? The result set of the query. Okay, so anybody can go to the table and update it. Anybody can go to the table and delete it. That is not I'm talking about. I'm talking about you write a query, you get a result set. On that, I'm going to be trying to update the data, trying to delete the data, or trying to delete it. Okay, when we're talking about a cursor, three things you need to understand. Okay, one is that what is the type of the cursor. Okay, then the second is what is the direction of the cursor, and the third one is what is the visibility of the cursor. These three things are very, very important. What are the type of the cursor? Already we had seen. Purely, we are talking about server side cursors only. Okay, that is the type of the cursor. The second, the parameter, what is the direction in which you're going to be moving around the cursor. Okay, direction of the cursor is also very, very important. That means what? How are you going to traverse on the result set? Okay, so either I can use forward only, okay, or scrollable, okay, na? Like that. We have few directions. Let me show you that. So what are the things I wanted to get it here? So what is the direction of the cursors that you're going to be pointing to? Okay, na? So that is very, very important. Where is the slide gone? Yeah, cursor direction. Forward only, I'm talking about scrollable cursors, I'm talking about and fast forward only. These are the three things we have it. Forward only is one direction, and the second direction is that you can have scrollable cursors. Then the third one is that, okay, we're talking about fast forward only cursors. Okay, so let me tell you what are these cursors all about. Now, I have the data. This is my data. For example, let me execute this query. I got some data. Now, on this data, when implement a cursor, I can go forward only means a row by row. First row, forward only, next row, next row, next row, next row. So I am going to go down from one row by one row, one row by one row, but I cannot can to first row, last row, middle row. I will not be able to scroll. Scroll means up and down. So when you're using a forward direction, what is going to be having only the fetch next is allowed. Only next row you can get it, but you will not be able to get last row, middle row, first row, something like this. Randomly, you will not be able to go up and down. If you wanted to go up and down, get the last row, get the first row, get the middle row, get the second row. Like that, if you wanted to traverse on the result side, then you need to use scrollable cursors. Forward only means what is going to be happening? You will be able to get the next row from the bottom to top. The direction is from bottom to top. You will be able to get only one row at a time and next row, but you are not going to go to the forward, the backward direction. Only one direction, that is fetch next, fetch next, fetch next, and row by row, row by row. But I wanted to go up and down. So that is what is called scrolling. Get the first row, get the last row, get the nth row, get the second row. So whatever you wanted to do, that row you should be able to get it. Either that row, you read it, you delete it, you update it. That is scrollable. Fast forward only means it is forward only direction. You will be able to get first row, second row, third row, but this data is purely read-only data. You get a data and you should be able to fast forward only means purely you can read. You're not going to do any kind of an updation here or deletion here. But forward only means get the data, read it, update it, delete it also. Or you can read it, delete it. So forward only can take the fetch the next row. You can do select, update, delete. Fast forward only means it is purely read only the data. Get the data, but that row you should be able to read. There is no updation, no deletion. So how you wanted to traverse on the result set of the query. Clear? That is what is the second one you should know. The third property you have to know what is the visibility of the cursor. If I'm doing a lot of changes to my data, because I'm talking about I wanted to update my data. I'm telling I wanted to delete my data. So how? After writing a query, I'm saying that. See, if I am updating my data, deleting my data, will that be reflected in the base tables or not? That is first question. Because I'm select star from account master table, I get some data. I am updating it because as we know, all the data will be fed into temp.db. On that, we are updating or deleting. When I am updating data in the temp.db, will it affect the original database or not? That is very, very important. Okay. So when is updating and what is the visibility? Visibility to whom? Visibility to many people here we're talking about, right? So visibility, for example, you're updating some data at the same time, some people are connecting to the database and they're updating. For example, you take this data, you try to update something here. Okay, that is one thing. So when you're updating something, for example, you're updating this balance to something else. Okay. So now what is going to be happening is that you're going to have one more guy is connected to the one more guy is connected to the base table in account master table is trying to update it directly. So when you are updating using a cursor, you got the data, you dump in temp.db and you're updating in temp.db, you're doing it. But at the same time, one more guy is connected to the directly table and is going to updating. So when he is updating it, what will happen to you? But when you update it, what is happened to him? Because the data when you're updating in the temp.db, it has to go back and reflects the base tables. End of the day, only one storage. You cannot have multiple storages in the database. Then you cannot copy the same data multiple times and update here and leave it and update there and leave it. So when you're updating here, what is going to be happening? When you're updating, when they're updating, what will happen to you? Visibility for you when they're updating the original data, and you get the data of a result set of the query, and you dump the data into tempdb and you try to update the data. When you are updating, what will happen to others? Okay, visibility for both points. Clear? So that is what is the visibility you need to understand. So based on the visibility, what are the things? We have three types of a cursors. One is called static cursor, then the second one is called key set driven cursor. Okay, the last one is called dynamic cursor. Okay, so whenever you learn cursors, you need to know three things. What is the type of the cursor? What is the direction of the cursor? And what is the visibility of the cursor? Visibility means if I use a cursor, what will happen? Can I update? Can I delete? Can I read the data? If I'm doing, and what will happen to others? If somebody at the same time they're also going to update, delete, do lot of operations in the base table directly. They're not using any cursors. What will happen to them? Because I'm also updating at the same time, they're also updating at the same time. What will happen to both of us? That is visibility for both of you. Or you're updating something in the temp.db side, and will it go to the original table and will get updated there? So that is also I'm talking about. So based on the visibility point of view, what will happen to me if somebody updates, and what will happen to others if I update it? Okay, that is very, very point. So that is visibility point of view, static keyset driven cursor and dynamic cursor. Okay, scroll means static can be forward, scrollable, forward on anything you can apply because it is only up and down scrolling. So get the data, static cursor you can implement, and you can apply forward, scrollable, anything. You can get the keyset driven cursor. On that cursor, you would like to use forward only, scrollable, anything. So dynamic cursors also you can have forward, scrollable, fast forward only. So this is only the direction. Clear? Now, let us understand what is a cursor altogether. Okay, let me show you now. Okay, how the cursor need to be implemented, let me tell you. For example, I am writing a simple cursor, declare cursor. Okay, I am giving a name, declare a cursor for, select star from the query. So this is the data, and open the bank cursor, fetch next from the bank cursor, while at the rate fetch status equals to 0, fetch blah blah blah, and close and deallocate. So cursor declare. So normally when you write a declare statement, you tell me. So normally we write declare at the rate x integer. What is the meaning of this? The meaning is that at the rate x is a variable. Okay, at the rate x is a variable which is of type int. That means which is capable of storing an integer. That is the meaning of. Okay. So when you use a declare statement, we know that all the data is going to be kept in the RAM. Okay. So what normally we do, you take a RAM. This is your RAM, right? Inside that, you're going to be creating a variable called X. Now, inside this, I'm going to be putting some data. So how to put the data also we know it. Okay. So after that, what we do? We say that set at the rate X equals to 20. Now, if you wanted to read the data, we're going to be using print at the rate X. Already we know it. So this is how you should be able to put 20 here and read the data. As soon as you read it, what is going to be happening? The variable will be removed by the operating system. Okay, that's what we had seen already. Now, when you use a declare, it is not going to be storing permanently. If you wanted to store anything permanently, then you need to go in for a create a table name, then you should be able to store them. Otherwise, not. Clear? Now, what I am telling you, here also I'm telling declare a cursor. So instead of a at the rate symbol, you put some ABC. There is a cursor name. So that's it. Okay. So what is the thing I'm talking about here? So cursor, how do you implement it? To implement it, so instead of at the rate symbol, what you do, you should put the declare only and write ABC. Okay, it is integer. Integer means which is capable of storing only one integer. But instead of integer, what I'm going to take, I'll say cursor. Okay. When I say cursor, what is going to be happening? Integer means a variable. Okay. X is a variable which is capable of storing an integer. What is the meaning of here? Declare ABC as a cursor. That means what? Declare, what is the meaning of this? ABC is a cursor variable. It is also a variable which is capable of storing the data and do lot of cursor operations on that. Okay, so you can also think that it is an integer, it is a cursor. That's it. So, but both of them are, this is a variable. Variable is a box. Okay, so this is also a box only. Okay, so what is going to be happening? So you understand that now it is not in the RAM, it is there in the temp DB. That you need to understand. When you declare a cursor, what is going to be happening inside the temp DB? It is going to be opening a bigger box like this. Okay, name is called ABC. That ABC is a cursor name. Here it is a box name. That's it. Okay, but normally when you say declare at the X, it will be there in the temp DB. It will be there in the RAM. Sorry, it will be there now here. So now what is going to be happening? We have to put the data. So for the data purpose, we use set at the rate X equals to 20. But here, what are we going to do? Cursor. We're going to be writing a query. So then what happens? This box bank cursor is going to be running, putting the data. That's it. Okay. So after declaring, you need to write for, and you say select star from account master table. You can write anything where account ID equals to this, or you can write where branch equals to blah blah blah, whatever the data you wanted to get it. So all the data is going to be occupying. So here you can have only one number, but this is how you're assigning the data to the variable. Now this is a bigger box where you should be able to store complete result set of the query. When you execute this, you will get a multiple rows, but all this data is going to be stored inside this ABC only. Now what is happening? Inside this ABC, will be creating a table. This is what is a table. Clear? Now cursor is means cursor is a box. It is just like a variable only where it can occupy lot of data. You may have a single row, but normally lot of data we're able to dump it. Clear? So after dumping it, what all we do, that we can see it. Okay, after dumping it, you open the bank cursor. So that means like this. See, you have to open the box. Okay, this is the data it is going to be dumping it. Diagrammatically, you need to understand. So cursor is a box only. That thing you need to understand always. Now you have to open. When you say after opening it, now when you see it, what are we going to do? After opening the cursor, first fetch next from the bank cursor. That means read the first row. Okay. So it is going to be reading the first row from this cursor. So where is the cursor? It is available in the temp DB. You are opening. You read the first row. Fetch next. You are going to be reading the next row. Fetch next. You are going to be reading the next row. You can do a fetch next operation from the bank cursor. But if you have 10,000 rows, 10,000 times you need to write this fetch next, fetch next, fetch next. Instead of that, I'm going to be using a loop. What is the meaning of that? While at the rate fetch status equals to 0. That means till end. When you write this statement, till end, okay, till end, you keep on fetching row by row, keep on fetching row by row. So after fetching everything, what you do, you close the bank cursor. That means you close that box. You're closing it. Closing it, it doesn't mean that it is going away from the temp DB. Still, you have the space in the temp DB. You can still open it. Okay, you can still open it after closing it. But to remove the space, we have to use a deallocate bank cursor. That only the space will be deallocated from the temp DB. Clear? So what is a cursor? Cursor means a bigger box where you're going to be storing a large amount of data. And in that, what are we going to do? We're going to be fetching a row by row with the help of a fetch next from. Okay, this is the syntax. And the cursor name, if you give ABC, ABC is it. However, you're declaring a variable. You declare a variable, the variable will be created in the RAM. Then you say set at the rate x equals to 10. After that, you print it, right? So that's what is going to be happening. But there you have only one row, but here we are having lot of data. So instead of set here, we'll be putting a query statement here. It is dumping all the data into the temp DB. Then you're reading row by row, row by row. And to read all the data from the cursor, you have to use this only. Clear? Let me take this and go here and let me show you how the cursors are going to be working. So this is the result set. When I execute it, I'll get complete data like this. Okay. But when I say declare a cursor, all the data will go to the bank cursor. Now what is going to be happening? Okay. Now it is going to go. It is going to get row by row. For example, now see, let me execute till this. I am executing till this. Okay. Now what has happened? Cursor is created. It is there in the temp DB. If it is not in the RAM, it would have gone. It is there in the temp DB. I have created a cursor. You assume like this. You have created a cursor. Okay. Now it is there in the temp DB. Now what are we going to do? After that, fetch next. Now when I say fetch next, so open bank cursor and fetch next, one row will be given. Okay. Now we are pointed to 101. I can execute the same statement. It will get the next row. 102, 103, 104, 105. So instead of executing like that, I put like this. When I put like this, I'm going to be going to the till end. But one row by one row, one row by one row, I am getting it. So one row by one row only getting it is taken totally 6 seconds of time. Have you seen the time here? Now after that, what I'm going to be doing, I am closing the cursor. Okay, I am closing the cursor. I have closed it. But after closing it, what I can do, again I open it. See, even though I am closing it, I can open it and I can say fetch next, fetch next, fetch next. Okay. After that, what I'm going to be doing, again I'm closing it. After closing it, I am not opening it. Simply I am writing fetch next. Will it work? It is not going to work because cursor is not open. Okay. So you can go open, you can open the cursor. Now again, you're going to be doing fetch next. Okay. So now I am in the fourth row, fifth row, I am sixth row. But even though I am in the sixth row, when I close it and open it and go, I'll be pointing the first row only. Okay. So and so even though you close it, the cursor is still available so that you can open it, get the data, but you should be able to deallocate the cursor. Once you deallocate the cursor, you're not going to open at all because already it is not there. When you say that a cursor with the name bank cursor does not exist, it is completely removed. Clear? So even though you close it, the structure is available, you can reopen it. But if you want to execute at a time, simply you can do this. So you should be able to go execute. You should be able to get row by row, row by row, row by row. Now you take how much of time it is taking. It is very slow. See, 6 seconds it has taken. Now, okay. Now if you execute this, now see, it is giving you data fraction of 0 seconds only. Now have you seen the time? Because the cursors are very, very slow, which is populating the data from the original table, dumping into temp.db and reading row by row, which are very, very slow. When you have little much of data, it is taking only 66 rows. It is taking a 1 second, second, fourth second, fifth second, 6 seconds it is taking. But when you have millions of data, then definitely cursors are very bad. Okay, but sometimes we have to use the cursors. And when is that we're going to be using the cursors and everything we'll discuss tomorrow. And whenever you're dealing with the cursors, you remember that these 3 points: type, server side cursors, direction, forward only scrollable, and visibility, static keyset driven. So I did not use any one of them. So this I'm going to be showing it to you tomorrow. Clear? What is a static? What is a forward only? What is a scrollable? So a lot of things we'll discuss. So these are the very, very important points. Cursor means a bigger box only, a bigger variable declared in the temp.db, which is going to be storing a lot of data of that query. And on that query's data, you should be able to read the data, update the data, delete the data also. Clear? So that is what is called a cursor. So cursor means positioning at a specific row. Okay. And cursors are having a lot of issues with the performance. Many people are not going to be using the cursors in the real time. So that is the point. But sometimes you have to use the cursors. That what are the some points that we'll discuss in the tomorrow's class.